The generation who was trained up to be ignorant of why the West was great trained the generation of ignoramuses who trained the complete morons who are training you. So today I want to tell you something I see happening in your moment, but it's something that has never happened in my experience before, and it has very serious ramifications. It's happened several times in the course of history, but this is something new in my lifetime, and that is this. The establishment has collapsed. The old men, the political, intellectual, and cultural leaders who are responsible for passing on to you the wisdom of the ages and the traditions of the West, have utterly abandoned their posts, and in their stead, there's gathered the greatest collection of liars, frauds, and clowns it's ever been my pleasure to make fun of. Your professors are buffoons. Your cultural critics are vulgarians. Your priests are cowards. And your journalists aren't fit to unlace the sandals of your professors, critics, and priests. I'm talking about the people who are supposed to be the grown-ups, the parent class. Their job is to be a little fusty, a little old-fashioned, a little slow to accept the latest fad. They're supposed to have read at least some of the great books and teach you what's in them. And while they're at it, they might also teach you how a gentleman ties his tie and how a lady behaves in company and how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in the Lord's Prayer. The establishment, the parent class, has to be willing to be made fun of by young people like you. They have to be willing to be scorned as being irrelevant and out of date. The wise old men and women know that the young are natural revolutionaries, but they also know that great revolutions don't come from revolutionaries. They grow out of great traditions. They come from guys like the American founders, who, as young as some of them were, as young as you, were deeply imbued with British and Western traditions and wanted to take those traditions to the next level. Great revolutions do not come from guys like Robespierre and the other French revolutionaries and the revolutionaries we have now, who think they can reinvent the moral universe. They always end up knee-deep in blood. Now, I say that the complete collapse of the establishment is new in my lifetime, but that doesn't mean it just happened overnight. It's like Ernest Hemingway said of a man who went bankrupt. It happened gradually, then suddenly. The bankruptcy of Western culture and ideas happened the same way. T.S. Eliot saw it happening a full century ago and wrote a very famous poem about it called The Waste Land. And in 1940, as the twin horrors of fascism and communism threatened to engulf the West, a thoughtful journalist named Walter Lippmann gave a speech to the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and this is what he said. Those who are responsible for education have progressively removed from the curriculum of studies the Western culture which produced the modern democratic state. The schools and colleges have therefore been sending out into the world men who no longer understand the creative principle of the society in which they live. Deprived of their cultural tradition, the newly educated Western men no longer possess in the form and substance of their own minds and spirits the ideas, the premises, the rationale, the logic, the method, the values of the deposited wisdom, which are the genius of the development of Western civilization. That prevailing education is destined, if it continues, to destroy Western civilization. And what I'm saying is that it has continued, and that destiny of destruction is now nearing fruition. The generation who was trained up to be ignorant of why the West was great trained the generation of ignoramuses who trained the complete morons who are training you. The effects are obvious everywhere. Christian churches hang Black Lives Matter and gay pride banners as if they've forgotten that there are no black and white lives in Christ, and pride is not a realistic emotion for any human being to feel. It's as if they worship Karl Marx, who thought mankind could perfect the world, instead of Christ, who understood the world is the kingdom of our enemy. It's no wonder that during the pandemic, these priests curled up like dead weasels when they were ordered to shut their doors by bureaucrats who believe there's nothing worse than death. Secretly, the priests agreed with them. You have academics who either won't teach the great books or silence those books by smothering them under their own banal and unfounded critical theories. Even worse, and I know this because many of you tell it to me, they threaten you with bad grades if you don't lie and pretend to believe what they're saying. That is a sin, by the way. It's a sin for an old person in authority to coerce a young person into compromising his integrity. It's a double sin, and I'm the only person who'll tell you this, it's a double sin to do that to a young man, because integrity is important to both sexes, but it's the essence of being a man. You cannot be a man. In order to be a man, you have to be who you say you are and do what you say you will do. And of course, I don't have to tell you there are the morally stunted perverts at the highest level of education and government who want to butcher and drug children out of their God-given sex in order to bolster a theory of transgenderism that has zero scientific basis and so little logic that it can only be defended by silencing and deplatforming anyone who dares to speak the obvious truth.